The sky broke open without warning. Bright ships came down from the clouds, lighting the world in silver and blue. People looked up, frozen in fear. These were not human ships. They were smooth, silent, shaped like birds with glowing wings. The war did not start with noise. It began with light. Princess Alira stood at the high window of the palace, her heart beating fast. Her golden crown felt heavy as she stared at the strange ships. Her people whispered about peace, but she could feel. It's something deeper, something ancient. This wasn't just a visit. This was a test. Or a hunt. Alira had always known the stories. A time would come when the ancient bond would return. A warrior, not of her world, would carry the mark. And she would be the one to see it. She didn't believe it. Not really. Until that day, the humans had been found on the far side of the galaxy, their world scarred by war but filled with life and fire. They fought like no other, brave, stubborn, wild. The council wanted to avoid them. But now the humans had arrived through a rift in the stars. One of them had been captured during the first attack. A soldier. He was tall, strong, with dark eyes that held no fear. They said he would not speak, that he refused to kneel. Some wanted to study him. Others wanted to erase him. Alira asked to see him. She walked through the long stone halls, her silver dress trailing behind her. The guards opened the door. The room was cold and quiet. He stood in chains, but he stood tall. She stepped closer. Their eyes met. Something shifted. Her breath caught. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was heat. A strange warmth. A pull inside her chest. Her fingers tingled. His eyes widened slightly, like he felt it too. Like he had been waiting. He didn't speak. Neither did she. Not at first. You're not afraid, she said softly. No, he replied. Why? I've seen worse, he said. And I don't fear what I don't understand. His voice was calm. Not proud. Not angry. Just real. Honest. She studied him carefully. There was a symbol on his wrist. A mark she knew. A forgotten shape. Carved in ancient stone. The mark of the chosen one. But how could it be on a human? She stepped closer. He didn't move. Her hand reached out, slow and unsure. Her fingers brushed the mark. The room glowed only for a moment. A soft light, like starlight under skin. The chains hummed. Her skin burned just a little. His eyes locked on hers, and for a moment, the whole world felt quiet. As if time had paused. To watch. You have the bond, she whispered. Her voice shook. I don't know what that means, he said, confused. She pulled her hand back. It means you're mine, he frowned. I don't belong to anyone. No, she said. Shaking her head, not like that. You were made for me. He looked away for a moment. Then back at her. What happens now? Alira didn't know. The bond was real, but it changed everything. She had been trained to lead, to rule, to fight. But this was fate. A truth deeper than law or blood. You were brought here for a reason, she said. And you believe I'm part of it? Yes, she said. He took a breath. Then tell me your name. Alira, she answered. I'm Kale, he said. That was the start. She ordered his chains removed. The guards argued, but she didn't care. He followed her out, quiet and alert. The court stared. Whispers followed them like shadows. Some called her mad. Others called it betrayal, but she knew what she felt. She saw it in Kale's eyes too. There was strength, but also something else. Pain, loss. He had fought many wars, but this one was different. This one was not for land. It was for connection. For truth. That night, Alira sat alone by the garden pool, watching the stars above. Her world. Kale stood nearby, silent, watching the trees move in the wind. He said little, but she felt his thoughts. Not with words, but with presence, with closeness. Do you miss your home? She asked. Yes, he said. Would you go back? I don't know anymore. She looked up at him. I never thought the bond would be real. Neither did I, he said quietly. And just like that, something soft settled between them. Not love, not yet, but understanding. The first piece of something stronger than fear. Something that could change two worlds. Forever. The palace buzzed with unrest. Word had spread. Princess Alira had brought the human out of chains. She had touched him, spoken to him, protected him. To many, it was a betrayal. The bond was an old myth, a legend. Most didn't believe it was real. But now that it had shown itself, fear began to grow. Kale didn't understand all their customs, but he could feel the eyes. He knew the way warriors looked before battle. He had seen it too many times. The aliens didn't trust him. He couldn't blame them. He wouldn't trust a stranger either. Still, he followed Alira. She walked with purpose, even as her people whispered behind her back. Her jaw was tight. Her hands were steady. But her eyes, they showed worry. Not for herself, but for him. Don't have to protect me, he said as they moved through the inner halls. I'm not, she said. I'm protecting the truth. They stepped into the old chamber. It was carved from stone, glowing with blue lines that pulsed under the floor. The walls were covered in runes, half lost to time. In the center was a circle of light. Alira stepped. Inside, Kale followed her, careful. This is where it began, she said softly. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors spoke to the stars. They were told a warrior would come not from our blood, but bound to our soul. He looked around, and you think that's me. I know it is. He stayed silent, then said, Why now? Why during war? Because bonds don't wait for peace, she said. They come when we need them most. Suddenly, the chamber. Doors slammed open. 3 royal guards stormed in, weapons drawn. Behind them, a tall figure entered. Commander Yelrin, her cousin. Step away from the human, Yelrin barked. He is a danger to us all. Alira didn't move. He's no threat. He's the enemy, Yelrin growled. He was found near the crash site, armed. Kale stepped forward. I was defending my unit. We were attacked. Lies, Yelrin snapped. You carry the mark. That's what this is about. You think a symbol makes him one of us? It's not just a symbol, Alira said. It reacted to me. It glowed when I touched him. Old tricks, he scoffed. Magic can be faked. He could be a spy, a trap. Kale's voice stayed calm. Then kill me, but at least know the truth first. Yelrin lifted his hand, ready to signal the guards, but the floor began to glow. The runes lit up, brighter and brighter, until the whole room shimmered with light. The guards froze. Kale's chest burned. He fell to one knee, gripping his side. Alira rushed to him. The mark on his wrist glowed bright gold. Then a beam of light rose from the ground, surrounding them both. Their outlines shimmered. The runes hummed like a voice, deep and old. Everyone stepped back, afraid. The light faded. Kale stood, steady again. Alira looked up at him. She didn't speak, but she didn't have to. The bond had just spoken for them. Yelrin looked stunned. His mouth opened, then closed again. The guards lowered their weapons slowly. You still don't believe? Alira asked him. He said nothing. Kale looked at Alira. What did that mean? It means the stars chose us, she whispered. From that moment, everything changed. She was no longer just a princess. He was no longer just a soldier. Now they were bonded. The palace prepared for war. Not just against the humans, but also among themselves. Some wanted Alira to step down. Some wanted Kale gone. But a few began to believe. The old stories, the ancient light, they had seen it with their own eyes. Alira brought Kale to the high council. They argued, they yelled. But they listened. He spoke clearly. He didn't ask for power. He didn't want the throne. He wanted peace, a future. "Let me fight beside you," he said. "Not as your enemy, but as your bond." Alira stood. With him, her voice strong. "We were chosen by something older than war. You may not trust him, but trust me." The council voted to wait. Watch. Decide later. That night, Alira and Kale stood on the palace balcony. The stars were bright above the quiet city. "Do you still miss your home?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "But I think I was meant to be here." She looked at him. "So do I." Kale didn't smile much. But that night he did. Just once, a small smile. But real. And Alira, for the first time in days, felt hope. Asterisk. The city lights were soft that night, but the silence didn't bring peace. Whispers filled the halls of the palace. Some servants hurried with their heads down. Others stopped talking the moment Kale entered the room. Alira saw it. She felt it. The bond might have been real, but trust took time. Kale didn't complain. He kept his distance when needed. He trained alone in the palace yard, swinging a practice blade made of alien crystal. He moved with calm focus. Watching him made people nervous. He didn't act like a prisoner. He acted like a warrior. Alira stood by the window, watching him. Her fingers touched the mark on her wrist. A faint shimmer had appeared there too, after the bonding light. It was his match. A symbol she couldn't hide even if she wanted to. Her handmaid entered quietly. "They say you've chosen him." "I didn't choose him," Alira said. "The stars did." The handmaid bowed her head. "Then the stars chose well." Alira turned. "You believe that?" "I saw the light, my lady," she said. "I've only seen that light once before, when my grandmother spoke of the old days. She said it only happens when the bond is pure." That stayed in Alira's heart. Later, she joined Kale in the training yard. The guards watched from the shadows. Their hands rested on their weapons. "Still no smile from them," Kale muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "They were raised to fear outsiders," Alira replied. "And you?" he asked. "I was raised to wait for one." He paused and looked at her. "And did I match what you imagined?" "No," she said. "But that's what makes it true." Kale lowered his blade. "They don't have to like me, but they'll have to accept that I'm not leaving." "They might make that hard," she warned. He gave her a calm look. "I've faced worse." That night, an explosion rocked the palace walls. Kale grabbed his blade and ran toward the noise. Smoke rose near the northern gate. A group of masked attackers had slipped through the outer walls. Their weapons burned with alien fire. They weren't humans. They were rebels from her own kind. Alira rushed into the scene. The guards shouted for her to stay back, but she didn't listen. Kale met her halfway, cutting through a blast of smoke. "They're not here for me," he said. "They're here for me," she breathed. They fought side by side. Kale's blade clashed with rebel spears. Alira used her training fast and graceful, striking with light. The two moved like they were one. Like their bodies already understood the bond, even if their minds hadn't caught up. One rebel broke past the guard and rushed straight toward Alira. Kale moved faster. He blocked the strike with his arm, took the hit, then slammed the attacker to the ground. Blood ran down his forearm. His breathing was heavy. Alira dropped to her knees beside him. "You're hurt." "I've been worse," he muttered, teeth clenched. She tore a strip of cloth from her gown and pressed it to the wound. Her hands shook. "You didn't hesitate," she whispered. "You stepped in front of me." "I always will," he said, his voice low. She looked into his eyes. Something deeper passed between them. It wasn't just duty. It wasn't just the bond. It was something growing, unspoken, real. The rebels were captured. Some escaped. But the attack left a clear message. Someone inside her own court wanted Kale gone. That night, Alira sat beside Kale as he rested. His arm was wrapped in silver bandages. He refused the healing chamber. Said he'd heal the old way. You should have stayed back, he murmured. So should you, she replied softly. He looked at her. If anything happens to you, I'm not afraid, she said. He nodded once. Good, then we stand together. Always, she said. A light breeze passed through the room. Outside, the stars shined brighter than ever. 2 moons rose above the horizon, casting twin reflections in the garden pool. Alira whispered a silent promise to herself. Whoever tried to break their bond would fail, because what tied her to Kale now was not just fate. It was choice. And she had chosen him fully. Morning came with silence. The palace stood still, but not calm. After the attack, the guards were doubled, and whispers grew louder. Alira felt the weight in every step she took. Her people were scared, not just of the rebels, but of what she had become. A princess bonded to a human. A living symbol of a prophecy they had stopped believing. Kale sat in the garden, sharpening his blade. His bandage had been changed. The skin beneath had already begun to heal. Human strength surprised her, but it was more than his body. He had a way of watching the world quiet and sharp, like he saw danger before it moved. Alira stepped closer. He looked up, eyes calm. Another quiet morning, he said. Too quiet, she replied. She sat beside him. The air smelled of damp stone and fresh grass. For a while, neither spoke. Then Kale said, I know they don't want me here. They don't trust change, Alira said. I'm not trying to change your world, Kale told her. But I won't lie about who I am. You don't have to lie, she said softly. You just have to stay. He gave a small nod. That I can do. Later that day, the council met again. Alira stood before them, Kale behind her. Some council members looked tired. Others looked angry. One of the elders spoke. There's unrest across the city. Your bond has made enemies stronger. Alira answered. Or maybe it has revealed who they really are. Another counselor said, You've brought a human into our walls. How can we trust one who comes from war? Kale stepped forward. His voice was steady. I didn't ask for the bond. I didn't ask to be part of your prophecy. But I am here. I bled defending your princess. I'll bleed again if I have to. But I won't stand here like I'm guilty of something I didn't choose. Silence followed his words. Then a younger member of the council spoke, surprising everyone. The bond is real. I was there. I saw the light. It cannot be faked. He may not be one of us, but he stood with her when many of our own ran. That broke the room open. Arguments rose like a wave. Some defended Kale. Others called him a threat. Alira stayed quiet until the voices began to die down. Then she said, I'm not here to ask for your approval. I'm here to tell you the truth. He is bonded to me, and I to him. That is not politics. That is destiny. After the meeting, Alira and Kale returned to her private chambers. She seemed quiet, lost in thought. Kale leaned against the wall. You were strong today. I'm tired of fighting my own people, she said. They'll come around, he said. Some won't, she whispered. They'll come with knives in the dark. Kale stepped closer. Then let them. I'll be between you and the blade. She looked up at him. His face was calm, but there was fire in his words. You speak like a knight, she said. I'm not, he replied. But I know how to stand my ground. She smiled just a little. Then that smile faded. There's something else, she said. Something I haven't told anyone. Kale waited. There's an old chamber deep beneath the palace. My mother once told me, if the bond ever truly returns, we must take the bonded pair there. To awaken the full power. Kale raised an eyebrow. Power? She didn't explain it, just said it would reveal the truth. About everything. Then let's go. It's dangerous, she warned. The path was sealed after the last war. and I don't know what waits inside." He gave her a steady look. "If we're meant to do this, then we do it together." She nodded slowly. That night, when the palace had gone quiet, Alira and Kale slipped through the lower halls. No guards. No lights. Just the sound of their steps on old stone. She found the gate covered in roots and dust. She placed her hand on the stone. Her mark glowed. The gate opened. Cool air rushed out. Stale, heavy, ancient. Kale stepped in first, blade drawn. She followed. Together, they walked into the dark, where the truth waited in silence. The tunnel was cold and narrow. The walls were smooth stone, marked with old symbols that glowed softly as Alira passed. Kale kept close to her side. His footsteps were light, his hand on the hilt of his blade. The air smelled of age dust, metal, and something strange like forgotten energy. They walked in silence for a long time. Then the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. A glowing pool sat in the center, surrounded by 8 tall pillars. Above them, the ceiling was shaped like a star. Every wall was covered in carvings, warriors, lovers, galaxies. Alira stepped forward slowly. "This is it." Kale looked around. "It's beautiful. It's sacred," she said. "No one's been here in generations." He moved to her side. "What now?" Alira didn't answer. She knelt by the pool and placed both hands on the surface. The water rippled, then glowed bright. Her mark lit up. Kale's mark answered, flashing gold. On his wrist, the water rose. A beam of light shot up and wrapped around them both. It was warm. Not hot, not cold. Just right, calming, deep. Then, a voice filled the chamber. It was not loud but powerful. Not male, not female, not alien, not human. It was pure, bond confirmed, soul thread aligned. Reveal memory of origin. The chamber changed. Suddenly. They weren't standing in the room anymore. They were floating in darkness. Stars blinked around them. Kale reached for Alira. She grabbed his hand tight. Then they saw it, a memory, not theirs, but ancient. 2 figures stood side by side. One looked like Alira, her kind. The other looked like a human. They stood on a burning world, surrounded by chaos. Together, they held a weapon made of light and fire. They were bonded. They were the first. They fought to stop a war, Alira whispered. They were us. Kale said. The voice spoke again. The bond is not love. The bond is balance. One heart from fire. One heart from light. Together they bring peace or destruction. Then, the stars faded. The chamber returned. Alira gasped for breath. Kale was still holding her hand. "That's why we're bonded," she said slowly. "This war, it's not just politics or fear. It's something deeper." Kale nodded. "Someone doesn't want the balance to return." As they stood, the ground rumbled. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Someone's coming," Kale said quickly. They ran back into the tunnel. Halfway up, they heard footsteps. Not one. Not 2. Many. Kale pulled Alira behind. A stone wall. Dark figures entered the tunnel from above. Rebels. But not just any rebels. They wore palace armor. Traitors from inside. "They followed us," Alira whispered. "They knew about the chamber. They don't want the truth to come out," Kale growled. He drew his blade, but Alira held him back. "We don't have to fight. Not yet." They waited until the rebels passed. Then they slipped through a side passage that only Alira knew, one that led to the East Garden, away from the palace core. Once outside, they stopped to catch their breath under the trees. Kale looked at her. "What we saw, does anyone else?" "No," she said. "Not even the High Council. If they did, they kept it secret." "They've kept a lot secret," Kale said. Alira's voice trembled. "My people were meant to bond with yours long ago, but something broke it. Someone didn't want the bond to survive." "Then that someone is still working," Kale replied. She looked at him. "We need to find out who." We will, he said, and when we do, we show them that fire and light still stand together. Alira's heart beat faster. She knew now the war wasn't just coming. It had already started, quiet, hidden, from inside. But now they had the truth, and truth was stronger than fear. The next day, the palace felt colder. Alira and Kale walked the upper halls without speaking. Their minds were full of questions. The chamber had shown them the truth, but not the face of the one behind the lies. They entered the council hall together, every eye turned toward them. Alira stood tall. We've been to the chamber below the palace. We saw the origin of the bond. We saw the first warrior and the first princess. Gasps filled the room. Kale stepped forward. Someone has been hiding the truth. The bond was meant to bring balance between your kind and mine. But the war was created to destroy it. Elder Varel, the oldest council member, stood slowly. No one has entered that chamber in centuries, not even royalty. It opened to me, Alira said. Because I am bonded. Yelrin rose from his seat. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. And what proof do you bring? A story of glowing light? Ancient symbols? You speak of balance, but bring a soldier into our home. Kale narrowed his eyes. Then let me ask you something. Who knew about the chamber? Who sent guards into the tunnel after us? We didn't speak of it to anyone. The room went quiet. Alira turned toward Yelrin. You knew. You've always known. Yelrin's expression hardened. You're just a girl lost in dreams. The bond is a threat to our power. You would bring a human into our bloodline. Kale stepped in front of her. She didn't bring me. I was chosen. Yelrin drew a small blade, quick and sharp. But Kale was faster. He moved with clean speed, disarming Yelrin in a single motion. The blade clattered to the floor. Guards stepped in from both sides, but Alira raised her hand. Enough, she said. I see it now. Yelrin is the reason the bond faded. His ancestors feared unity. They wanted control. They fed lies to our people for centuries. Elder Varel nodded slowly. And now, we must decide if we let fear rule us again. Yelrin was taken from the chamber. No trial. No speeches. Just silence. Later that night, Alira stood at the palace balcony with Kale beside her. The stars were bright again, the sky free of smoke. What happens now? Kale asked. We rebuild, she said. Not just walls, but trust. Truth. You could still send me home. She looked at him gently. I could, but I don't want to. He didn't smile, but his eyes softened. I wasn't born for this, he said. Neither was I, she replied. But somehow we're still here. A light breeze passed between them. Then Alira reached for his hand and held it tight. We walk together, she said, from now on. And he answered with just one word, always. Beneath the twin moons, their bond shimmered again. Not in light, not in symbols, but in silence, in trust. In the quiet strength of two souls who had found each other across stars, war, and fear. And from that moment forward, the galaxy began to change, not with weapons. But with hope.